Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming today. It's good to see you all. Especially maybe some of you seeing for the first time, so thank you for coming. I want to just first of all express my gratitude to all of our British brothers who came, and it really means a lot to me as a pastor and as a father that you guys came and did this Brothers in Arms workshop for the second year. I was realizing that these guys came all the way from England. Some of them already live in America, but none of them live here, which is a problem. But either way, some of them live in California, right? And so they flew all the way to America, and they met together in California, and they drove all the way here. And they decided to hold this workshop for us. And it would have been much more easy for them to hold a workshop in California or maybe somewhere a little bit closer. But instead, they drove halfway across this large country, especially compared to England, right? And offered this workshop. They out of a lot, spending a lot of their time, energy, and resources to make it happen for us. And I know that my boys had a great experience last year. It looks like they had a great experience this year. I've heard nothing but good things. And it just means a lot to me, and I think to a lot of us here, that you would go out of your way to invest into our kids. I get the sense that you guys enjoy what you do, which is great, but not add a benefit to you guys. So I just want to say thank you. So thank you. I'm missing 1, 2, 3. Where is he? There. Huh? Oh, he's out. Okay. All right. I think that for our teen and our tween boys, because they opened it up to boys 10 years and up, having these cool British young adults come and invest into them and get really physical with them and push their limits and inspire them is just must be a really cool experience. I wouldn't know. I never had that experience as a teenage boy, but it just seems like something that would be really, really cool. And also I know that our Yami guys helped out as well. And I think that that's a big part of why we even started Yami, isn't it? Yeah, these kind of things. To inspire people by having good role models to look up to. Because in their eyes, in the eyes of my teenage boys, I am an old man. And there's just nothing you can do about it, right? They may respect me and love me, but I don't know if they will, I'm not going to be their role model most of the time. So I just wanted to express that. So my sermon today is Down the Road of Life. And I wanted to share a couple insights I actually got from our trip into Japan and Korea. But we are all navigating the road of life. We're doing our best. And we often have different ideas. Even though we're all doing our best, we all have different ideas of what a good life looks like. Some people think it's important to live a life that is well remembered, like leaving a legacy. I remember when I was young, my great-grandfather. He was Italian, didn't speak a whole lot of English. I didn't know him so well. But he was like the root of the family, right? Especially the Italian side of the family. He was the reason we'd all get together and have big meals and have lots of Italian food. And I remember that as he was coming to the end of his life, he had this inspiration that he wanted to donate a bunch of money. I don't remember the exact details, but it was just a hospital or a school or something. Maybe my dad remembers. And then, the idea would be that, they would put probably some kind of recognition, this auditorium was donated by, Nicolangi. And I remember this was kind of conversation amongst the adults, and of course nobody was thrilled about the idea. But he was coming to the end of his life, and he was thinking, I want to be remembered. I want to leave something. I want to have something written somewhere that says, Nicolangi lived and he left something for future generations. So, I can feel kind of the dilemma, right? Some people think a good life is about having as much fun as possible, or having the most experiences as possible, or having good relationships with family and friends and having a beautiful family. Some people might say contributing to providence is most important to a good life. Maybe to have witnessed to and brought a certain number of people to the movement. Or maybe to live a life that's comfortable. Or maybe to innovate or learn knowledge and then pass that on to future generations. And as I was writing this list, I thought, these all sound pretty good. I don't see any one thing there that's not part of a good life. And I think that ideally, it's kind of a long list, but ideally, if you could do all those things, that would be pretty amazing. But none of them, in and of itself, seems not good. But I do think that maybe sometimes where we get in trouble is maybe by focusing too much on one thing and forgetting the others. This is a quote from the Divine Principle. Heaven has implanted in human beings a nature such that those who place their ultimate purpose of life in the material world will eventually come to feel a great void and emptiness in their hearts. When people come to know God through the new truth and encounter the reality of the spirit world, they will realize that they should not set the ultimate purpose of life in the material world, but instead should look to the eternal world. They will walk the path of faith, and when they reach their final destination, they will meet as brothers and sisters. So when Adonia and I were in Japan and Korea, I had a couple experiences that really stood out to me that I've been reflecting on a little bit. The first one is that we went to a wisteria garden in Japan. And wisteria are like a vine, and they grow, and then over time, many years, they create a canopy, especially if they're trellised or trained, and it can be quite beautiful. And here's so when they flower once a year, and you can see Adonia's there standing in front of a white wisteria, and it's very small. But even that wisteria, how old would you say that wisteria plant was, Adonia? 7 or 8 years. So 7 or 8 years to get to that point. And then, but we went to this place because it's kind of famous in Japan as being a place where they've been cultivating these wisteria plants for 100 plus years. We don't know how long exactly. So what you can do once a year is you can go and they have a festival. And you can see this is one of the trunks. It's not a tree. It looks kind of like a tree, but it's not a tree. But you can just see how big it is and how long it's been there. And then over time, they have cultivated it so that it runs over kind of like a river. And they've got, I don't know if this is the best photos. Yeah, so you can kind of see they're all hanging down from this trellis that goes over the water. And then at nighttime, they turn the lights on, and it's like you have wisteria on top and you have wisteria in the water. It's a perfect reflection. And so when we were there, there was a lot of photographers. They're there for that perfect moment, get that perfect photo. And it's really, the pictures don't do it justice, obviously, but it's kind of breathtaking when you're there. And this part just looks kind of like a small section, but it goes on for, Yeah, so maybe like 500 feet or something like that. There's sections of it, and they're still expanding it and growing it. And it's really quite beautiful. And I was kind of shocked by the amount, just to be there in that moment, recognizing that this has been a work in progress for like 100 or 150 years. The people who planted these wisteria vines are long dead. They don't get to appreciate what I'm appreciating or experiencing in this moment. Similarly, when we were in Korea, we went to our Champyeong holy ground. And this is a photo from, I don't know when exactly, the 60s maybe, 60 years ago, when this was simply a wooded mountain next to a lake. And our true parents, our founders, the movement purchased the land and they started developing it. And you can't really see the quote on there because it's a bit too small, but it says something about how Champyeong is going to be like the holy ground for all of humanity to come to in the future. But at that time, it was simply the side of a mountain, just trees and stuff. But in those days, our movement didn't have much resources. So our true father was there, and our true mother was there, and there was a bunch of guys there, and they rolled up their sleeves and they just got to work. They started digging, and I don't get any sense that there was any tools like heavy machinery used. It looks like it was all done by hand. And the original building that was built there was just built by hands, by volunteer labor, with a vision that someday this place would be an amazing place for all of humanity to come to and experience God. And then here comes us, 60 years later. We weren't there, we weren't a part of it, but we get to come and we get to experience what it is now. And it's this whole huge thing with so much to do and so much to experience, and you really do feel God. At least we did. I don't know if everybody does, but we really felt it. And then on top of that, we really felt how much it was a similar kind of experience as the Wisteria Garden. The people who built it, they're either gone or probably at this point too old to even appreciate or enjoy it. It wasn't built for them. It was built for us, or the future people who will come someday to benefit from what there is to offer there. So I had this similar experience in both places in two different countries where I felt that somebody poured their heart out, but it wasn't for their own benefit. It wasn't because they were like, yeah, I want to live here, or I want to I'm sure there is some, right? Like if you love plants and you love wisteria, you're going to love the process of planting and cultivating it, but you're never going to experience what it's going to look like when it's like that. Never going to experience it. And it got me thinking about, life a little bit, because I think it's normal for us to make sacrifices in our life that we know are going to pay off for us later, right? Like, we're okay to set aside money for retirement because we don't want to be in our 70s and 80s and have no money, right? That would be challenging. And now the government just takes it from you. So there's that. We don't mind investing into college or some kind of higher education, because even though that's painful in the moment, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of money, but we believe that that will benefit us later down the road. It's the same with eating healthy, right? It's a sacrifice to not eat bad food all the time. But we know that that will pay off, or we hope that that will pay off. No guarantees, but we hope that that will pay off later in life. Or at the very least, we hope that we will stay more youthful or have more energy or something. These are sacrifices that we make in the moment. We don't mind doing it. Well, sometimes we do, but we don't mind doing it because we hope that there will be benefit later on. But I think that it takes a special person or a special mindset or perspective to be able to sacrifice for things in your own life that you may never really see much benefit from. And that was kind of the experience that I felt at this Wisteria Garden and at Champyeong. These were things that were created for the future. These were things that were created by people who cared about those who would come and who would appreciate them long after they themselves were gone. It's very humbling for me personally to be in that kind of space. I feel the same way when I think of Jesus or I see a picture of Jesus on the cross. It's that same kind of heart of sacrifice from 2,000 years ago where Jesus was willing to go the hard path for those who were to come later. So in some ways, life can look kind of like a road. So I'm going to circle back to my original picture there. This is a road, obviously. I grew up in Wyoming. For those, I don't know if all of you know that. I grew up in Wyoming from the age of like 4 to 18. And this looks like all of the roads in Wyoming, pretty much. The few exceptions. They all look like this. There's nothing on the sides, and it just stretches on. And yes, there are many places in Wyoming where you're on the highway and you don't see a car behind you, you don't see a car ahead of you. That's very common. And you'll be driving through Wyoming, and you'll be like, there's a town coming, and the sign says town, whatever, population of 4. If you don't believe me, go and check it out. It's quite the experience. And you'll like drive through and there'll be like one building and it's like a post office and a store and a gas station. And then you're like, well, I guess people live here. And then you're gone. You know, like you pass the town is like a 5-second experience. And there's a lot of towns like this. But anyway, the point is this is a road. And when I was young and I was learning to drive, one of the things I learned, and you may remember this, but it's something you kind of figure out very quickly and then you forget about it. But when you're first learning to drive, at least I remember that when I was driving, especially like a long road like this, I would try to stay between the lines by looking at the lines right in front of me. And I'm thinking, I got to stay between the lines. And I remember, like, it was kind of difficult. Like, it seems silly now, you know, like, how long ago was that? 25 years ago? It's like a distant memory. But I remember very clearly, like, just remembering, like, it was a little bit tricky to stay between the lines just by intentionally trying to stay between the lines. But then I don't know if my dad taught me or someone mentioned, like, no, you got to look a little bit further down the road. If you look a little bit further, then it's just easier. And I tried it and it worked. I was like, wow, it's instead of looking right in front of me, if I look down the road a bit, then it's easier to stay between the lines. So that's where I was looking. And I guess, you know, somewhere over there like that. Maybe not that far. Not quite, but I should have put. But the idea is further down the road. And I kind of feel like it's a little bit of an analogy to life. Whoops, nope. When we look at our immediate circumstances, like what's right in front of us, right there, we tend to focus on certain things. Like what's present for me right now? What do I need right now? That can be comfort. It could be money. It could be avoiding anything uncomfortable. It could be survival. And oftentimes comes with, because we're so focused on surviving or meeting the needs of the moment, a focus on the short term, sometimes at the sacrifice of long-term happiness or fulfillment. On the other side, when we look at, but we can't see what's coming around the corner, and we don't necessarily know where we're going. But when we look at the distance, there we go, we tend to focus more on possibilities, opportunities, dreaming, and thinking about what's possible long term, even if I have to make sacrifices right now. But we might not necessarily see what's right in front of us. We may not necessarily appreciate the moment. We may not necessarily appreciate or we could take for granted the people in our lives right now. What's right in your face. So the point I'm making here is that they kind of both have pros and cons. I love this Bible verse. You've probably heard it many times. Where there is no vision, the people perish. But he that keepeth the law, thank you, happy is he. From Proverbs. So life is not a straight road for us, as much as maybe we would like it to be sometimes. Oh, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. So I've noticed this kind of same dynamic playing out in my relationship with my wife, actually. It's kind of interesting. I tend to be more, I think a lot about the future. And I think a lot about what I want to do or what's possible. I think a lot about what's the meaning of my life? And what kind of legacy do I want to leave behind? What will the future look like? And unfortunately, I often struggle with really valuing the moment. Instead of being able to be happy in the moment and just enjoy what's happening around me and the people around me, I'm often thinking about the future. And that's kind of a bummer. Because it often leads to this feeling of being dissatisfied with what I have. Because I'm thinking more about what we could have in the future. Adonia, on the other hand, tends to be more in the present. And she's able to appreciate the people and the situation that we have right now. And I find myself sometimes really wishing I could do that more. Because there is something really special about being able to just be grateful for what you have and who you have, instead of waiting for things to be different. Even if it's better, it's still not the current reality. And that's all we really have. Future is just a possibility. She also doesn't really stress out too much about the future and how things will be, which I also appreciate. I don't live that way, but I appreciate it. And somehow those two, I wouldn't say we're opposites, but we definitely see things very differently in that way. We kind of somehow come in the middle when we work together. And I think that's really cool. So this is a kind of a cool quote from Reverend Moon. He said, why is that there? No, shoot. Oh, I'm sorry, everybody. I feel a little bit out of order. All right, I think the quote's just not in the right place. Nope, it's not in there at all. Okay, there's a quote. It says, "Try to focus on today, on this very moment. If you are a victor in your heart right now, you will be victors after going through the entire course. So you must be alert in winning the very moment you are faced with for the sight of God. So I think that we would generally agree that our true parents, specifically here our true father is speaking, pretty visionary kind of people. And, he often spoke a lot about the future and what was to come and investing for the future and all these things. So we would think, well, it's best to just be like that. But he's also being very clear here in kind of a different way that it's actually very important to be present in the moment, to be a victor in your current circumstances. So I take that to mean that both are important. Both are very important. One is not better than the other. I find in life that if you lack something, you can find it in somebody else. The problem is that we tend to think my way is better. And I think that's kind of where we get hung up. There's value in both perspectives. So, our life is not a straightforward path like that road in Wyoming. There's very little reason to have curves of roads in Wyoming because it's pretty much empty pretty much everywhere. But life is probably going to look more like this road. And with lots of sharp turns and switchbacks and confusing path and direction of life sometimes. Sometimes you're going to have icy roads and bad weather. Things will be unpredictable. And life is like that. That's one perspective. I see this as kind of like another one. This is actually, I got this off of somebody's RV website. Like some people, they get an RV and then they travel all over the country staying at different places, right? This is actually somebody's RV map, which I thought was kind of cool, but kind of overwhelming at the same time. I choose to see this as kind of God's perspective. So we see the road that's right ahead of us. That's about as far as we can see. We don't really know what's going to happen in our life. We don't know what's going to happen in the world. We can do our best, plan accordingly and all these things, but we don't really know. And then we have our life and what's happened until now, probably what will happen. That's kind of like the windy road. I see this as kind of like God's perspective. God sees so much more than what we can see about our life. He sees our past. He sees our present. He sees our future, what's most likely going to happen. God sees our burdens. God sees our family history, our ancestral inheritance, good and bad. God sees the world and society and the way things are going. So there's kind of, I realize that there's kind of a third aspect. It's not just being present in the moment. And it's not just being a visionary and thinking about the future, but it's also recognizing that that road, God has a purpose in the road. God has a destination. And it may look like that, or it may look like this or that or whatever that, but it's a road, and God has hope and expectations in our life. And that's something that, as people of faith, we can't ignore. And so as God sees a bigger perspective than what we can, and we are going through life trying to deal with it the best we can, we should always, I believe, seek God's guidance throughout that journey, but especially difficult decisions, intersections in the road where we're trying to figure out which way we should go. So I feel like a balance of the three is actually probably best. To have a healthy appreciation for the present, to live in the moment, not lose sight of the future, and dreaming of what's possible and God's plan for our life. Reverend Busing asked us to get on a video call last week with Golden Age Club? No. SPA. Senior Pastors Association. Thank you. Sorry. SPA. Should have known. And one of the things that Marjorie wanted us to share was our vision statement. And I mean, I feel like I've shared the vision statement so many times, it's almost become, I don't necessarily think of it as anything special. But as I was sharing it, I was reminded, oh, actually, it's not bad. But I realized that we haven't really talked about it in a while. And, in the past, we'll do like a refresher every year, and we haven't done that this year. And I thought it would at least be good to just go through our vision as a community, because I feel like as a community, we need to know where we're going. And it can be easy just to be like, we're just meeting on church every Sunday, and we just do events, and we just do activities, and we do stuff. But as I mentioned, I think a lot about the future. And in the coming weeks, I'm not exactly sure when we're going to do it, but we're working a lot on figuring out where we're going as a community, like our at least maybe not end goal destination, but the next step, Colorado Family Church 2.0 or whatever, next step for our community. And I'm really excited about it, but I don't have it ready yet. But that's why we're talking a lot about like vision and future and things like that right now, basics. But we have people who moved to our community recently, and we just haven't talked about this. So just real quick, I'm going to go through our vision statement real quick. We are a place where people from all walks of life can find love, acceptance, inspiration, guidance, purpose, joy, and fulfillment. We are a church that isn't a church, but a family, where the experience of community, love, and God's grace abound. We are every person growing to spiritual maturity through studying God's word, prayer, making devotions, small groups, and taking on a ministry to care for the needs of and give to others. We are equipping every person for a significant ministry by helping them discover the gifts and talents that God gave them. We are building God-centered marriages and families that are the dwelling place of God and the cornerstone of a healthy society. We are sharing with the people of the Denver area truth that has been hidden in the Bible until now, God's original purpose of creation, how humanity fell away from God, and our path to returning to God's ideal and dream. We own a beautiful and modern building that serves as the hub for all of our many family and faith-based activities going on throughout the week. We are a community that embodies the legacy of living for the sake of others and building the kingdom of heaven here on earth that our founders, Reverend and Mrs. Moon, whom we call the true parents, have passed on to us. It's through these points that we must identify how we should invest our time, our energy, our resources. And also, it's through these points that we should identify the things that we should not invest into. So, regardless of where we're at on this journey on the road of life, whether you're 9 years old or you're 99 years old, there's something ahead of us in life. And I think that we could do well to find where we're at, kind of in the balance of things, and either learn to think more of the future or to learn to appreciate the moment more and what we already have. And we can make the most of this short life that God has given us. Please join me in prayer. Dearest Heavenly Parent, thank you so much for this day, the opportunity for all of us to come together. Heavenly Parent, all your children here, Heavenly Parent. I really hope and pray that you can feel our hearts reaching out to you this morning, how each and every one person here, Heavenly Parent, wants so much to go on this journey of life together with you, Heavenly Parent. For you have touched us in our lives in one way or another. Heavenly Parent, we're all here because your presence in our life, we felt it somehow. And Heavenly Parent, we want to live a life that reflects that you're a part of it. And we don't always know what that's going to look like, and we don't know what's going to happen in this world, Heavenly Parent, but we just pray that you can stay close to us. Stay close to each and every person, every single child, every single adult. I pray, Heavenly Parent, that we can have hearts that invite you to mold our lives, to guide our lives, to be what they could be, Heavenly Parent, to be greater than what we could even imagine for ourselves. And Heavenly Parent, we just feel so grateful to be on this journey together with one another and with you. Heavenly Parent, please guide us through our path and journey of life. And Heavenly Parent, we look forward to what will come of that. I thank you and offer this prayer on behalf of all of our blessed families here. Amen and Aju. Thank you so much.